Welcome to the Wired for Success podcast, your show for ambitious, mission-driven entrepreneurs who want to build million-dollar businesses without sacrificing their health, relationships, or happiness, who understand that in order to build their empire, they need a solid foundation, and that the more they are thriving, the more their business is thriving too. This show brings you the very best from science, self-development, and entrepreneurship to set you up for sustainable success. Hi, I'm Claudia Garbutt, the scientist turned mindset and high performance coach for entrepreneurs, and I help you get wired for success. Hey everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Wired for Success podcast, where we talk about all things science, self-development, and entrepreneurship that help you get to that next level of success in your life and business. My guest today is author, podcaster, TEDx speaker, and leadership coach, Heather Chauvin. Heather helps successful women live courageously and authentically so that they can work and parent on their own terms. Heather started her career as a social worker helping adults understand children's behavior, but it wasn't until 2013 when a stage 4 cancer diagnosis pushed her to take a deeper stand for change, uncovering how cultural expectations sabotage our dreams. And it sounds like we have so much in common, and I'm just really looking forward to learning more about her journey. So welcome, Heather, and thank you so much for being on my show today.
I am so excited for this conversation. Thank you for the invite, Claudia.
Absolutely. So Heather, as a fellow cancer survivor, I'd love to start at this turning point in your life.
Yeah.
Because I know that when I suddenly got diagnosed with leukemia back in 2009, my whole life just turned upside down from one day to the next. And it was such a challenging experience, but it also gave me a lot of strength, and it changed my outlook on life completely. It was kind of like a reset button that allowed me to just press pause, reassess my life, and then choose a different path going forward. Mm-hmm. So what was it like when you got your diagnosis? How did it make you feel? And what was your recovery journey like?
So people ask me this all the time because my book, Dying to Be a Good Mother, they assume that it's all about my cancer story. But I tell them, one, cancer doesn't define me. It's something that happened to me. And the interesting part about that is it was actually 9 years before my cancer diagnosis where I had my first awakening, the first holy crap moment where you're like, oh my gosh, that was when I became a mother. That was like, oh wow, the rug being pulled out from me. But when I was diagnosed, that was like, I felt the universe saying to me, you say you want this, but you're not aligning your actions. You're not living in integrity. And that was where I felt like I was pushed into a corner or backed into a corner, and I had to truly become the person that I wanted to be in that state of uncertainty or fear, not knowing what the future was going to bring. So in December of 2013, my abdomen was swollen. I was, there was symptoms, all the things there. I have 3 boys. My youngest was a year old at the time. 6 months before, I think it was 6 months before, I physically signed the paperwork to leave my corporate job. So I was in startup in my business. So no safety net at all, no financial safety net. And there I am with the diagnosis we went into the emergency room. They did a CT and blood work, and on the spot, they're like, Heather, you have cancer. We just don't know what kind. And I remember having a moment of like, you've been running away from this. Like I knew I was sick. I was just running away from it. And in that moment, I could no longer pretend that my life purpose was just to serve my children. I had to stop and really put practice to everything that I was learning because I had 9 years of personal development under my belt. I didn't start into personal development and mindset and all of that when I got my cancer diagnosis. It was when I became a mother. And so the 9 years kind of prepared me for that moment.
I totally relate to that. For me, it was kind of like the other way around. I got diagnosed with cancer first, and later I became a mom. But both of them were kind of turning points in my life where I realized that something was out of alignment and something needed to change. Yeah, so totally relate to your story. What surprising lessons have you learned? Have you learned about yourself in those tough circumstances?
So people, what's interesting is like as you grow, so entrepreneur, mother, whatever area of your life that you want to grow in, people always ask like, how do I get over fear? How do I get over guilt? And I'm like, I don't know. I'll tell you when I figure that out. And what I realized in that moment, and I talk a lot about this in my book and podcast and the work that I do, was in that moment of my diagnosis or in that moment of recovery, I had to face my deepest fear. And my deepest fear was, of course, dying and my children not having, like, growing up with a mother. And although I know many people that has, became the reality, I had some friends that I've lost to cancer. And in general, people, like, life is temporary. All we have is this moment. That is it. But what I had to realize was in that physical moment, I had to live for that moment, and I couldn't allow the fear of the future to dictate my action. And so I was in this weird space of, like, I tell this story a lot. I was on the bathroom. Of course, everything happens in the bathroom. I was on the bathroom floor in between hospital visits, and I just woke up paralyzed in fear, like pulsating, the stress pulsating through my body. And mentally, I kept telling myself, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. Like, that's what was pulsating through me. And because of the work that I did on myself and with others, I knew I could get myself to the present moment in the sense where I'm like, okay, stop. You're not dead yet. You are here. You're on the bathroom floor. And I felt awful. I felt dead inside. I had no energy. I was at a rock bottom. And I kept asking myself, how do you want to feel? How do you want to feel? How do you want to feel? And so I could mentally get myself out of the spiral of, like, I'm going to die, I'm going to die, I'm going to die, facing my deepest fear, to the present moment, which was, you are here. You are here. You are alive today. How do you want to feel? How do you want to feel? And so I could transition from, like, going down that dark rabbit hole to coming back to the present moment, to then start getting my mind to focus on the future of how I wanted to feel instead of, like, all the things that I wanted. And because I could do that, I started repeating that process over and over and over and over and over again. And what I realized is this getting over fear never happens. This getting over guilt actually never happens. Sometimes you wake up and it just hits you, or, like, you're just walking down the street and you're just someone says something to you and it triggers you, right? And what I realized, it's not about getting rid of anything. It's about co-creating your life with it. And there's real reasons why people walk around with anxiety all the time, or fear, or that's a whole other conversation. But I'm talking about the emotional kind of regulation in the moment, and how we don't live our lives from fear or live our lives from a state of constant guilt. And that skill right there in that moment has, I wouldn't say I always remember it, meaning, like, I don't sit here and go, oh my gosh, I have so much resiliency, I can face anything. Because your brain kind of forgets a lot of that, right? You're like, oh my God, I have to send this email. That's so scary. Meanwhile, you've, like, had to face your deeper fears previously. So it's using those skills over and over and over again to get out of the feeling, back into the present moment. And then I always ask myself, how do I want to feel? And what version of me would act as if, even though I have this uncertainty of the future?
That's so powerful. Thank you so much for sharing. I mean, this is something that I realized in that moment as well, that at that point in my life, I was making most of my decisions, like they were all fear-based. I
Yeah.
was always trying to avoid something instead of facing it head on. And for me, I kind of was, it sounds weird, but I was less scared once I had the diagnosis, kind of, because it shifted my perspective. Like all the other things weren't as scary anymore. It was like, okay, it's basically the worst thing that can happen has already happened. Now
Mhm.
what?
Yeah.
So what do I do with the rest of my life? What do I want? And then I started to envision all the things that I still wanted to do in my life. And that, I think, kept my mindset in this positive space where you allow the possibility of something good to happen to you. And you just create this beautiful vision of what you want to do once you've recovered.
So something that you just said is like, what do I want? And oftentimes I ask people that, like, what do you want? And most of the time people will say, and I work primarily with women, I don't know. I don't remember. I don't even have the capacity to like think about that. Or I don't remember when I actually sat down and asked myself, or I do know what I want, but here's the list of reasons why I can't go after it. And that is how we get stuck.
Yeah,
And
totally.
here's the interesting part. So we're recording this. I am sitting in a hotel room, a place that we rented in Mexico. Okay. So I live in Canada. And this is a desire of mine. And my husband and I have, pre-planned for this to make it happen. Our kids are here. I love adventure, but I'm a homebody. It's so weird. I leave my house and then I'm like, I want to go home. And I'm
Yeah.
like, that is so strange to me because I want to be in two places at once.
Mhm.
The reason why I'm saying this out loud is because we look on the internet, we see all these things that people are doing. And what do you typically do? Oh, that would be so nice. Oh, I could never have that. And then you actually put yourself in a situation and you're like, this isn't the feeling that I thought I would have
Mm.
when I did the thing because we live in this fantasy world. So I tell people, your desires were put in you to be expressed. If there's something inside of you, if you're like, I want to leave for the winters, or I want to write a book, or I want to run a marathon, or I want to quit my job, or I want to stay in my job, I want to work more, whatever it is, if there's a desire inside of you, it was meant for you. But here's where I think the personal development industry loves to like keep things behind a closed door is the second you act on it, that is when all of your emotional crap is going to come up.
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
is where all of your fear, all of your anxiety, all of your insecurities are going to, all of the imposter syndrome is going to come up. And that's where I like to live my life is in that messy middle. It's annoying. And I always say, why can't I just be normal? Why can't I be content? But when you start to jump up and into that, into your actual desires and ask yourself, what do you want? And you start giving yourself permission to do that, it's a whole other mindset game. But this like either or of like, I'm either going to sit on this side and I'm going to live in this state of people call it comfort zone. I call it security zone because people say, I want freedom. I want freedom. I'm like, no, you want security. And the reason why you won't make any moves over here is because you are actually seeking security and you're in your comfort zone. You're in that secure place right now. Because the second you actually go after what your soul is craving and that freedom based lifestyle everybody talks about, you need to know emotional intelligence. You need to know emotional regulation. And if you don't, you will be scared and you will run back to your security blanket. So it's fascinating. It's like two completely different identities. Now I'm like one life. I knew that before, but my cancer diagnosis, I was like, life is too precious to sit here to worry about what someone's going to think or me saying, I don't know how to solve that problem. Google it, figure it out, throw noodles at the wall. You'll get there.
So true. I totally agree. I mean, it's something that a lot of people struggle with, because when you're living on the edge, that's the growth edge,
Yeah.
the end of your comfort zone. That's where all growth happens. So you shouldn't leap too far into your comfort zone, because otherwise you run away screaming. You need to find that edge where you're like, okay, I can take a baby step in that direction. I can get a little bit uncomfortable, but I can still manage that feeling. It doesn't take over. It's not the anxiety that takes over and then I just can't function anymore. It's living on the edge.
You know what's interesting about that comment? As you're saying that, what I'm experiencing going, okay, yeah, I've always been a rebel. So I think that personality trait, or whatever you want to call it, has been a benefit to me. But as a child, I was shamed for being a rebel, a female rebel, right? I did not do very well in school. I was not a people pleaser in school. I didn't have to get A plus for all these people. But I always questioned, and I was like, but why? But why? But why? And my mother said when I was around 10 years old, she's like, I knew you were different. And it was very challenging to raise you because of that. Cause I'm like, but why? But why? And I would call her out on her stuff all the time. Right. But that was like the leadership skills that I had, but it wasn't fostered. So there's that one aspect of me that I think was like one check of like, I'm a rebel. Two is you have to give yourself permission to act on those desires, to step into that growth edge. But here's the additional challenge that not many people talk about is the energy that comes back to you from the other people around you when you are disrupting the quote unquote status quo. So I'm the dreamer. I'm the visionary. I had to come to a point of acceptance that that was who I was. My husband is not that. So every time that I'm like, do you want to try this? I have to give him a 6-month leeway so that he can process it. It has been so much back and forth to do that. But the point of why I'm saying this is to realize culturally, women are taught, born and bred, to nurture and give, and not give back to themselves. When I'm working with women and they're powerhouses, they're getting things done, they're doing all the things, and I'm like, okay, just, block off half your Friday and do half a you day. Like, what do you want to do? The resistance that comes up from that because of the stories and also the resistance that they get from other people, you are changing communication, you're changing your relationships, you're changing so much energetically, not only for you, but the next generation when you declare how you want to feel. And the interesting part about that is I think we wildly underestimate how emotionally uncomfortable that's going to be. It is not just about getting your journal out and saying, what do you want? Okay, go after it, living your growth edge. It's knowing how to manage that energy when it comes back to you as well and saying, I see you're not comfortable with the fact that I'm putting my phone down at this time and I'm not going to reply to you for 24 hours, and sitting with other people's big emotions as well. So there's so much when we do choose. And for me personally, like I'm raising 3 boys, like there's no female energy in my house. Actually, that's a lie. My mother lives with us and we have 1 female dog. And all the time, I'm just like, my bigger why is to declare my power, because when I do, I'm showing my boys what an empowered woman looks like, who can still respect their needs, wants, and desires, but also the women that I work with and the next generation. So when I don't want to do the thing, I know that there's a much bigger energy at play. That's the ripple effect that's going out.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've experienced this inner resistance as well when I decided that I will definitely prioritize my own health. So I take off time every morning where I just focus on doing my exercise, doing meditation, doing all the stuff that I want to do, and that keeps me healthy and happy and productive. But in the beginning, I was like, it felt wrong, just taking that time off, not working all the time, not subscribing to the constant hustle culture. It felt like you're doing something kind of like illegal, kind of like, oh, I hope nobody sees me when I do that kind of stuff. It just felt wrong. And now I can own it. But in the beginning, I had this resistance to overcome as well.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you define success at this point in your life?
Well, I think that's interesting because people use a lot of like success in taglines and everything. I'm like, what does that even mean? And for me, I think it's not giving up on my dreams, not giving up on who I want to be. And I want to call it alignment, but there are moments, where I just every day it's the habit and discipline of becoming and leaning in. So success to me is, does this feel good? And I don't mean from like moment to moment, because there's going to be moments where it doesn't feel good, but does this feel good as in, am I headed in the right direction? And yeah, does it feel good? And if it doesn't, it's most likely because I've abandoned myself in some capacity.
Right. Sometimes it's just, if we don't review what we're doing on a regular basis, sometimes things can just slide. And all of a sudden you find yourself in a place where like, this doesn't feel good anymore. This doesn't feel aligned anymore. And then you need to pivot and change again. Happens.
Yeah.
Happens to all of us. What are one or maybe two of the most important life lessons that you hope to teach your kids so that they can live their dream lives?
Well, I'm going to be vulnerable. Raising boys is very different than raising girls, although I've never raised a girl. And I'm realizing, I believe call it emotional regulation, call it emotional intelligence, but being able to identify how you're feeling and communicating that, I think, is a life skill that everybody should have. So emotional regulation is a game changer, and something that I hope my children take from me, whether they choose to or not. And it feels like it's been a little bit of an uphill battle, because it's not only about teaching another human, which I think is a new generational thing of emotional regulation, but also the male brain and the male, the gender and the cultural expectation of men, right? Like emotion is weakness, and we're requiring them to express more often. And I think there's a huge something they haven't been taught. So that has been interesting. And also to deeply trust yourself. Trust yourself. And I'm going to throw another one in there, which is respect everybody you meet, because you never know the battle that they're experiencing. I'm huge on empathy and compassion, and knowing that there's somebody in front of you that you're having a conversation with. There's some value that you can give to them. And if you are of service to other people, it will come back to you tenfold. And I think we need to realize humans need to do that more.
Absolutely. So important. Now, if I had a magic wand and I could just instantly eliminate one struggle from your life for good, what would it be?
Oh man, I actually ask myself this all the time, and I'm like, I wish. And I'm going to say, I'm going to be that person and say, I'm going to say it.
Go.
I wouldn't actually want you to take any of my struggles away.
Oh.
I was going to say something like raising a teenager, because that is a huge challenge of mine right now, or emotional sensitivity. I've always been like a sensitive, intuitive person. And so, when I'm changing locations, traveling, like people, like I can feel a lot, and I'm like, oh, I'd want that solved. But the truth is, I wouldn't be who I am today without these challenges. And just like all of the cliche things that we hear, if we want to grow, we have to lean into that discomfort, which is why I think the contrast of what we don't want to experience is so, so important. So, to be honest, I would love for you to take all my challenges away, but then what am I working towards?
True. You need the challenge. You need the
Yeah,
edge.
and that's really annoying to say because I think if everything was easy and light 100% of the time, would I actually be motivated to like pursue? Um yeah, my mindset now is like life is a game and we're just playing this game, and I lean into those areas of resistance, and I've put on this like cap now, especially in entrepreneurship, but parenting really taught me this, which is you have to become a problem solver, and there is no perfect guide. Everybody's podcasts and books and all the things, that's like a template of somebody else's perspective. Take that information and then use your problem solving skills and then make it your own and lean into the resistance, because that again is where we literally create change in society.
True. Life is sweeter with a little bit of bitterness as a
Oh,
contrast.
it's so annoying. But yes, you appreciate it more, right?
Yeah,
You don't know what you got until it's gone.
so true. Do you have any daily routines that help you stay happy, healthy, and productive? And if so, what are they? And what does your typical day look like?
So this is interesting. I'm a person that's very consistently inconsistent. So, and I shamed myself for a long time with that. And then I embraced it. So I am very persistent, in the sense of like relentless with my goals, dreams, and desires. And every time I want to pretend that I don't need to do anything anymore, it only is 2 days where I'm like, oh wow, okay, I need to do this again. Um, Lately, it has been food. So I see food as energy. It has been a game changer, especially since my diagnosis. I know there's a lot of, science about nutrition, but I think food is fuel. And if
Mhm.
you are not eating consistently, it's going to affect your mental, emotional, physical, spiritual health. It's going to affect everything. So food, what I put in is what I want to give out into the world. And I still eat crap every now and again. But eating like food being a primary kind of ritual or routine for me. Movement has been a game changer. But the daily habits of I brain dump a lot. So I walk around with like journals all the time. And if I feel overwhelmed or stuck, I just brain dump everything out. And then I usually circle one or two things that I think I need to like act on. Yeah.
Sounds great. Now, with all that you have achieved so far, what's next for you? What does your big, bold, next level vision look like?
So I feel like I've done a lot of big, bold things. And it's fascinating because the season that I'm in currently, and maybe a year from now, Claudia, you and I will have another conversation. It will be a different thing. But I am really, the season that I'm in is not about the big and the boldness. It's about doing the things that have worked better. So
Mhm.
the sustainability of the success that I have built, just doing just momentum, like rinse and repeat, which is incredibly boring, but doing it better. So like just refining and tweaking and doing the things. I do feel like there is another book in me. Maybe it's not it's not in front of me. That's like, I need this out. But I'm kind of like wide open, but I'm in the season of doing less better.
Sounds great. What does the rebel in you say about that? Is she all right with
That
that?
I'm not doing enough. Like this is boring. Yeah, trying to like backslide a little bit. But it's actually interesting. It's like squeezing all of the juice out of a lemon. Um, and doing the things that those people tell you, like when you're, listening to podcasts or reading books of like very successful people. How did you get here? They're like, I did the work that nobody else would do. So I will read like one book that has really influenced me 5 times. I will read one book a year and just hammer it out instead of consuming more information. It's like, where do I want to grow? And just constantly trying to refocus my energy on that instead of doing all the things and looking quote unquote productive when it's actually just busy work.
That's a great tip for sure. And last but not least, where can our listeners find you online if they would like to learn more about you or connect with you?
Yeah, so I hang out a lot on my podcast. It's called Emotionally Uncomfortable, which is kind of this messy middle of like, how do we get from where we are to where we want to be? So you can find me on anywhere podcasts, Emotionally Uncomfortable. My book is Dying to Be a Good Mother, and you can find that anywhere books are sold online. And I hang out on Instagram at Heather Chauvin, Chauvin. And I love when people send me DMs after they listen to a podcast.
Perfect. Heather, thank you so much for sharing your story and your insights with us today. It's really been a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you, Claudia.
Take care and talk to you soon. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Wired for Success podcast. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review. That's a fantastic, easy, and zero-cost way to help the show grow. Just use the link in the show notes and make my day. If you'd like to take it one step further, you can now join my inner circle and become an official supporter of the Wired for Success podcast. Supporting the show is super simple and will only take you about 30 seconds. Basically, it works like any other paid subscription. All you have to do is go to glow.fm/Wired for Success podcast, pay $5 per month or as much or as little as you like, and choose the link of the podcast player you want to use. You can listen anywhere in any app. So for less than the price of 1 to 2 fancy coffees per month, you can really make a difference and help me keep this show awesome. For more tips and info, check out my website at www.wiredforsuccess.solutions. Thank you so much and talk to you soon.